The biggest price on that page is almost never the one you end up paying. That is not a scam. Nobody is hiding anything from you. The number you will actually be charged is usually right there on the same screen, in the same panel. A couple of inches from your thumb, it is just set smaller. So I went and read the real pages this week. Not figures copied out of a blog, the live pricing pages for software you have probably bought at some point. On one of them, the price set in the largest type is $4.17 a month. The price charged in year 2 works out at $10.42 a month. Both numbers sit on the screen at the same moment. One is roughly 4 times the size of the other, and it is the wrong one. Here is the part that genuinely surprised me. The company with the steepest increase I found is also the most upfront about it. It prints the second year price on the same line as the first, in bold, and that increase is 14 times. So this is not really a story about deception. It is a story about type size and about which true number a page decides to make big. By the end of this, you will know where the second price is kept on the 3 kinds of page that use this, why 14 times is perfectly legal, and what happened in a courtroom in July 2025 that decided whether anyone had to make it clearer. Start with Norton, because their page is the cleanest example of the pattern. Open the Norton 360 Deluxe page today, and the panel reads like this: a green badge saying 60% off, a struck through $124.99. Beside it, $49.99 for the first year, then a small line reading, and I am quoting the page here, it works out as. And underneath that, $4.17 a month, set larger than anything else in the panel, $4. 17 is a real number. $49.99 divided by 12 is $4.17. Nothing is being invented. But $4.17 is not a monthly price. You cannot pay it monthly. It is a description of a once-a-year charge, expressed in the smallest unit available. Now look under the yellow button. In the smallest gray type on the whole panel, Norton writes, savings compared to the renewal price of $124.99 a year. There it is. The renewal price disclosed on the same screen at roughly a quarter of the size of the number that is not the renewal price. $124.99 a year is $10.42 a month. 2.5 times the figure in the big type. That is the entire mechanism, and none of it is a lie. It is a decision about which true number gets to be large. Now it gets interesting because Norton actually goes further than most of the category. They publish a page called Subscription Renewal Price List, effective March 2026. It is a public table of what every product renews at. Norton 360 Deluxe, 5 devices, 50 gigabytes, $124.99. Norton 360 Standard, $94.99. Norton 360 Premium, $159.99. LifeLock total for 2 adults, $629.99. Think about what that tells you. The number is not buried in a terms of service document. It is not behind a login. It has its own page with a heading and a date on it. I could not find one link to that page from the product page I was standing on. That is the shape of this whole category. The information is available and the information is not delivered. Those are 2 very different things, and only one of them is anybody's legal obligation. Norton's own subscription terms put it plainly. Renewal prices may be higher than the initial price and are subject to change. That sentence is completely true, and it contains no number at all. Look at the other end of the spectrum now, because it is not the end you would expect. IONOS sells web hosting, and their pricing page does the opposite of Norton's. Every plan prints the second year price directly under the first, in bold, on the same card. Essential, $4 a month, then only $8. Starter, $6, then only $10. Ultimate, $10, then only $18. And the middle card, the one with the purple banner reading best-selling plan, carrying a badge that says save 94%, $1 a month with a 1-year term, then only $14, $1 to $14. A 14 times increase, printed in bold, by the company itself, with the word only sitting in front of it. Here is what falls out of putting those 2 pages beside each other. The size of the discount badge predicts the size of the step. Save 50% becomes a doubling. Save 94% becomes 14 times. The badge is not describing a bargain, it is describing the distance. And notice that IONOS is being more open than Norton and has the far worse jump. Those two facts have nothing to do with each other, which is why reading the fine print does not protect you from the arithmetic. There is a second thing happening on both of those pages, and it is much quieter. Every price you have heard so far is a monthly figure attached to an annual commitment. IONOS says $1 a month with a 1-year term. Norton says $4.17 a month, which is $49.99 charged once. You are not renting by the month, you are buying a year and being shown a 1/12 of it. That matters for one reason. Months are how anybody decides whether something is worth it. $12 a month feels like a coffee, $144 feels like a decision. Every page in this category expresses the first year in months. Almost none of them express the second year the same way. Norton's renewal list is entirely annual. The page you buy from is entirely monthly. So the comparison you are trying to run in your head is between two numbers in different units, and nobody on the page is obliged to convert them for you. That is the catch. This is not two companies having a bad habit. It is how the category prices itself, and third parties have been putting numbers on it. The pricing tracker Check That reported in June 2026 that Bluehost's entry-level plans renew at up to 151% above the introductory rate. A review site called MetaWings put Hostinger's jump at 268% in July. On antivirus, SafeScan now reported in April that McAfee Plus Premium lists at around $159.99 in year 2 against a promotional $39.99. That is roughly 4 times. Domains do the same thing. Check That and PriceWorld both report GoDaddy registering a .com somewhere between $5 and $12 for the first year, then renewing it around $22. I want to be careful with those last few. They come from review sites, not from the companies. I tried to read GoDaddy's own pricing page and it blocked me outright, so I am telling you what other people measured rather than what I saw. The Norton and IONOS numbers are a different thing. I read those off the live pages myself this week. So why does nobody have to put the second price next to the first one? They very nearly did. The Federal Trade Commission finished a rule on negative option marketing, which is the legal name for anything that keeps charging you until you stop it. The press called it click to cancel. It would have required clear and conspicuous disclosure of the material terms, affirmative consent to the auto-renewal itself, and a cancellation route as easy as the sign-up route. On the 8th of July 2025, the United States Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit threw the entire rule out, days before businesses had to comply with it. The reason was not that the rule was wrong. The court found a procedural failure. An administrative law judge had determined the economic impact would exceed $100 million, and the commission had not run the preliminary regulatory analysis that number triggers. The rule died on paperwork. The commission reopened the question on the 11th of March 2026 with an advance notice of proposed rulemaking, asking the public what a replacement should look like. Comments closed on the 13th of April. As of today, there is no new federal rule, only enforcement under the older Restore Online Shoppers Confidence Act. So the answer to why this is allowed is almost boring, because the rule that would have changed it is currently a comment file. One place did write it down. California amended its automatic renewal law through a bill called AB 2863, in force since the 1st of July 2025. It requires annual renewal reminders. It requires that you can cancel through the same channel you signed up through. And the part that lands directly on everything in this video, it requires clear and conspicuous notice of a fee change in a retainable format between 7 and 30 days before that change takes effect. Retainable is doing a lot of work in that sentence. Law firms reading the bill point out that it rules out a notice which only ever appears inside an app, because you cannot keep a thing like that, which is roughly the disclosure Norton already publishes on a page nobody links to, except with a deadline attached and delivered to you. About 39 million people live in California. For everybody else in the country, the second price is still wherever the company decided to put it. So here is the whole thing in one sentence. The number in the biggest type is the first year expressed in months. The number you will actually pay is usually somewhere else on that same page in smaller type. And since July 2025, there has been no federal rule saying those two have to sit next to each other. Once you have seen it on one page, you cannot unsee it anywhere. The struck-through price, the percentage badge, the monthly conversion, the gray line under the button. It is the same 4 elements every time, on hosting, on antivirus, on domains, on whatever you opened last night. Now I am curious about something specific. Of everything you currently subscribe to, which one had the biggest gap between the number that sold you and the number that turned up on the card in year 2? Put the product and both figures in the comments. I want to know whether anything out there beats 14 times.